Today's episode is brought to you by TubeBuddy. Hi everyone, my name is Adrian Pangilinan, and before we get started with tonight's episode, I briefly wanted to talk about TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that helps content creators, brands, and networks save time and grow their channel through their features such as bulk processing, video SEO, promotions, and data and research. You know what? TubeBuddy has really been there for me since day one, and I definitely couldn't have reached 1,000 subscribers without them. To learn more about TubeBuddy, please visit www.tubebuddy.com/AdrianPangilinan, www.tubebuddy.com/AdrianPangilinan to learn more. And on that note, let's get started with tonight's episode with Charles Gray. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Supremacy podcast, where we talk about all things unapologetic and all things passion and in pursuit of. So for this episode today, we have the amazing Charles Gray in the house. So everyone, give him a round of applause. Insert that sound effect. Okay. Let me pull up his bio because I actually read the bio and I was like, I don't think I'm going to have time to memorize it, so I'll just read verbatim. Okay. From your IMDb. Okay, so Charles Gray is a Filipino-American writer and director from West Covina, California. His dad is film director Frank Gray Jr., and his granduncle is Dolphy Quizon, who is highly regarded as the king of comedy in the Philippines. I agree. Growing up in a film industry, family motivated Charles to continue the deep-rooted family legacy, which eventually led him to film school at the Art Institute of Orange County, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in digital filmmaking. Since then, he has worked in media companies in the entertainment industry and eventually opened up his own production company called Weird Creatures Productions, where he plans to curate and release original content that shines a light on diversity, the Filipino-American experience, as well as stories that have never been told or seen before. Woo! That bio, so when I first read that bio, I was like, oh shoot. And then that actually made me even more excited because then it's like there in that bio, just for now, there was so much information about you that I was able to easily like kind of deconstruct and like, okay, what do I want to ask him? Which direction do I want to go with this? Because I think in general, like this conversation can go absolutely in many different ways, you know?
Yeah.
But I think for today, I definitely want to, take some time to, chat with you and just kind of get to know you more as a person and be able to kind of get a sense of your overarching experience from when really you decided that this was for you and to like the bridge. I'm calling it the rainbow to where you're at now. So, okay. Yeah. Hey, Charles. I don't know. Hey, Charles.
No, first off, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure. I think you're also an amazing creator, content creator, filmmaker. I don't know what exact titles you put for yourself, but I fellow creative. How about that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take it.
I don't know if there was a question, but I just want to say that
Oh no, there wasn't. Not yet. No, I just felt like I wanted you to say something because I was like, oh, go ahead, continue.
I don't know. Maybe I feel like now I have to give you an intro, but not to just. But I do want to say that I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm always watching your stuff because to me, people who I am always inspired by people who constantly work. There's people who like put out one good thing and then like you never hear from them for like a year.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
I kind of suck and I'm not as constant as like you are, and I'm probably.
Hindi naman. Not really. Hindi, no.
But I love seeing people who always are constantly putting stuff out, and it doesn't mean to me it's okay if not maybe everything is like golden but the fact that people constantly put stuff out, I think that's those people are better off because even like they say that when you swing more, you have more chances for home runs. And
Yeah.
I think that work ethic of like constantly putting yourself out there, constantly being on camera, constantly putting out content, trying different things. I hats off to you, like you, and I know like the other people from San Diego Film Collective. You guys are all like amazing to me. Like you guys like have this weird, not weird, but it's like this really cool.
Oh yes, no, we'll take weird.
I do love
Yeah.
weird, so
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always inspired by it, and I love seeing all you guys' stuff. And yeah, I meeting you. Actually, I have a funny story about first meeting you, but
Okay.
actually, and it involves Noreen, who I believe you also had in your show, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So I was in San Diego to be on this panel with Leia Lombos, Chrissy de Guzman,
Rizal, Javier,
and Drama del Rosario.
and you.
Yes, that panel. And you were in the audience. This is the first time I met you. And Noreen, I was talking to Noreen because she was there. Why was she there? She was supporting Leia? Supporting Leia.
Her film, Kain Na. Yeah.
Right.
She was
Yeah. So we were just chatting, and then she saw you in the corner sitting by yourself. I think you were setting up your camera or something. And then Noreen goes, "Hey, Charles, do you know who that is?" I was like, "No, I don't know." She's like, "I think I know him, but I don't know. I don't remember his name, but I think he's like really important. But and I don't want to like come up." Like she was like so worried that she wanted to meet you or like say hi, but she forgot your name or where she met you from. And she was asking me if I knew you. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. But like, yeah, he does look important." And you were just like, you were working on your camera. You were like wearing this long jacket and you look really cool. And I was just like, I don't know. But, and then I think I still haven't met you yet, but I think she finally said hi to you and whatever. And then later on after the panel, she was like,
I
okay.
came up to her. Actually, I came up to her because. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I came up to her because then I was thinking the same thing, and I saw her talking to you. So it's so like I never heard this from her actually, but I at that moment you're just talking about, I saw that too. I was like, she looks familiar. I thought you looked familiar too before I actually found out who you were. I was just like, you look, because I saw you at what's it called? The magic hour in August. I saw you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was just so funny. And then like I think I met you later that night at the screening with Marissa and
Yes, where we were bunched into a picture. I remember that. It's so funny being asked to be in a picture and have to be next to people that you don't know.
yeah.
You remember that, right? I was just like, we were on the floor and I was like, "Hi, Adrian, glad to meet you. We're next to each other." Then we took the picture. That was it.
Right. Yeah, I love that's a great picture, by the way. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just my funny story of meeting you, and then like I think like we added each other or whatever, and from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, too. Okay, so first of all, that was one of my questions. So thank you for asking that. I super appreciated it. And also, I think just before we actually get into the main meat of the interview or the icebreakers, is I also that moment too. I just remember feeling really grateful that someone like Charles was super approachable, because in my opinion, I feel like sometimes people can have, or I feel like sometimes people act like they're on such a high pedestal, and it's just like they're not approachable. They're like they're not nice, kind of not snobby is the word, but just kind of standoffish, from. So I was just super thankful that there was that kind of common ground that we were able to, just kind of. You were nice. You were nice. You were really nice, and I was like, I like nice people, you know,
Oh,
in a place that cannot be so nice sometimes. So.
I mean, for me, it's all. I appreciate all that. Like all Benito and Emma just like inviting me out there and screening my film. Like to me, it's all just like it's all rewards. So I'm grateful to meet people and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so humble too, because, well, actually, I think I remember now. Just kind of having seen you sit down over there in that panel, and I'm like, I was having one of those moments in which has been a recurring theme in my life. Is like being in an audience and being like, I want to do that. Like with dance that happened like 2006, around the time I made a decision to dance. I was sitting in an audience and watching this dance concert that they hosted every semester, actually. So twice a year. I was like, I want to dance. I want to be up there. And then I just kind of did the thing, and eventually I ended up there. And then also kind of going back to your event, where you were part of the panelists, the panel. I was like, that is so cool. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. That was a humbling, nice, very cool experience from start to finish. So, and I think we ended up going to the same restaurant at the end of the night, right? I think we were sitting on the
had
same
some
table.
drinks.
That was fun. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I have some questions for you before we get started with the not the actual, but you know what I mean. So okay, so 5 facts about you that nobody would know from a first glance.
Okay. I wake up at 6:30 every morning, and even on Saturdays and Sundays when I don't have work, I have this weird natural body clock that wakes me up early in the morning. Lately, it's been 4:30 a.m., which I don't know why, but I am a morning person, so not that many. It's so funny because people think you're an artist or you're a creative or a director. You must be like a night owl and stay up late. I am a lame person when it comes to being at parties and sometimes by 10 p.m. I'm like tired. And then strangely enough,
that's not lame, because I'm like that too. I'm like I'm so like at 7 a.m. I'm so sleepy already.
7 a.m.
7 p.m. 7 p.m. Sorry.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
in the evening, like around that time, 9ish, I'm done.
Yeah. So I would say that's one. But yeah, but strangely enough, the next morning I'll be like so wide awake. So, 5 facts. Okay. Another one.
So, 4 more.
I don't know where I'm pulling these facts from, but I am lactose intolerant. I cannot drink regular milk.
Oh no.
I don't know if this is interesting, but that's
good. I'm finding it out too. So that's sorry.
Almond milk, cashew milk is my best friend. Okay, 3 more facts. I have a guilty pleasure for romantic comedies, even the really terrible ones from Hallmark and Lifetime. I eat those up like popcorn. There's something, even though I know how it's going to end, even though the acting's kind of bad, and I don't know, there's something about those romantic comedies or romance movies that I fall for. And recently I've been watching these like Christmas versions of these movies, and yeah.
I can tell actually. I looking at your body of work, and that's not at all surprising to me. But I think it's just super interesting hearing you actually express that. Because I'm like, that is definitely, I feel like, a fact for me. So yeah,
okay. It's so funny because people talk about like, oh, have you seen Blade Runner 2049? And I kind of or like movies like that. Like everyone talks about the big sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I stay awake throughout those rom-coms. Like sometimes I'll get sleepy in sci-fis if it's just too much sensory overload. But to me, like story and just dialogue, that's enough for me.
You know what? Too, that kind of that does remind me of I don't know. I mean, I just feel like there tends to be this like popular opinion that people like it's like the more the better, like those kinds of movies, like the bigger, the grander, the better. But I truly agree with your sentiment of like, it's just, sometimes it's really just about your foundations, the storytelling, and actually I'm the same way too, because I am not, when I guess when it comes to pop culture in general, when people pull up references, which this is going to be a warning. So when you pull that later, don't be surprised if I say I don't know, because I don't know anything. Okay, I live in my own world. I watch my own stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. So
Yeah, totally. No, and on the flip side of that too, just like you, there are big franchises I have never seen yet. Like, I just watched the first Harry Potter the other night for the first time in my life. And
oh wow,
Harry Potter movies, and I'm
20 years
super,
later.
what was that?
20 years later.
Yeah, I'm super late to this party, and I have never seen Game of Thrones. So like
Me neither.
a lot of the stuff, yeah, the stuff people talk about, I don't
I'm
know.
assuming. I'm assuming then the not the stuff that's usually hyped. You probably normally don't like. You're usually not part of that crowd until later. Until you're able to just like, okay, I'll watch it in my own terms.
It depends. I'm like one of those, like, I do love like the Oscar bait movies, like the stuff that gets nominated for awards. Like, I love those kind of serious movies that come out in the winter. But sometimes the big summer movies, sometimes I don't. I pass through it. Like, yeah.
Mm.
So what was that? Three? Was that three or four?
3.
Okay, two more.
Maybe one more. Maybe one more if that's all. Because Noreen did 3 yesterday, and I was like, we can just cut it there.
One more. I love Champurrado. Do you know what Champurrado is?
Hell yes, I do. Oh my goodness, that's my guilty pleasure.
But it's got to have DList and evaporated milk. And even though I'm lactose intolerant,
Oh,
I would take lactate.
oh my god.
Champurrado. Oh my god.
Okay, hands down, more respect to you because I actually behind me you can't tell because I'm hiding it with my Digimon poster for like production value or whatever. But underneath there, I have this box of pre like almost like pre-made champurados. You just like pop it and then
What?
I bought it months ago and I just never used it. But it's funny too because my mom like within that time period has already made like cooked 2 like fresh batches. It's good. Especially have you had toyo?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
I said DList, but I think I mean toyo, like the little fishes, right?
How big? Because D-list is like it's almost like a worm. It's a worm. It's almost like a worm. It's that tiny. And then like the tuyo is like maybe like this big. Like
I've had both, so
okay.
yeah, I know. I've had both.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they taste they taste the same. It has a very similar saltiness, and yeah, it's really good.
It's that
Okay.
mixture of sweet and salty that is just.
Yeah, that's cool. That I actually don't. Okay, I know we've talked about tuyo at some point, but I think I think that is a thing that I'm one thing that I'm like okay. I'm glad I know that about you. Okay, so we have a couple more questions, and I think you've actually answered one of them. So the next question is Premiere Pro or Final Cut?
Oh, I am a Premiere Pro person for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dolphy or Babalu?
Oh, come on. How can I say Babalu? I mean, they're both cool. They're both great. I gotta go with the family.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just wanted to ask that question because I'm like, I get to ask that question. I'm like, why not? So thank you. Okay. Excuse me. Dream project.
Oh, I thought this was like a this or that. Dream project. Oh my gosh, dream project. Like specifically or just general or whatever?
I think for this one, I mean, it's really up to you, but I think for me, I was referring to like I guess dream film project. That's really the question. Yeah.
Dream film project. I mean, man. I would love to work with Toni Collette. I don't know. She's an amazing actress that doesn't get enough love, and
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like if I had a project and she was in it, I would feel like this is cool because she's awesome.
It's funny because I agreed and nodded as if I knew her. Okay, first of all, I don't know who she is, but second, I resonated with the underdogs. You know, the underrepresented, the underwhelming. You know, like Yeah. So that, I mean, that's all I'm gonna say for now because I think that's something we can talk about later. And lastly, oops, sorry. Lastly, if Charles Gray were to have a dance challenge, what would the first move be?
Oh my gosh. Probably something that if it's my challenge, I guess it have to be stuff that I actually do. So it'd probably be like a fix your glasses move, like a this or like a so I don't
Ah! Oh my gosh.
or
The-
like a I don't know something like that. Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
let's see. Boom, wait. Boom, 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 boom.
And then it would
Hey,
be like
okay. Hey, my friend, oh, shoot, my bad. Sorry. Do I still sound okay? I forgot that I have this over here. Okay. Manifest that. I say run with it.
and then it would be like hands in pockets on the wall, like a wallflower, like head, little head nods and something there. There's something there. I don't know.
No, yeah, so yeah, something kind of very minimal, something very just kind of like
Yeah.
I'm a cool kid and nobody needs, it's a very subtle, very subtle.
Wallflower aesthetic.
Wow. Who is Charles Gray?
Oh, oh man. All right. Well, I am a writer director. I can maybe just go further and say I'm an auteur, which kind of just means someone who is the author of their own work. So in my work, there are writers who write and other people will direct it, directors who will direct other people's writing. I mean, if given the chance, the dream project is to write and direct something that is my own stamp, and that is
Mm,
kind of where I thrive. Is like kind of putting my own brand or my own creativity onto something from every aspect, whether it's a music video, a documentary, or a short film or a feature film. So
nice.
I can say that's who I am.
Yay. And actually the you look so much clearer now than when we started. I'm just like, oh, you look super clear now. Okay. That's good too. That's good. Okay, it's a good indicator. Okay. The second question was how did we meet? But you already answered that. So, the third question is, what was your life like growing up?
Uh,
Um, I guess maybe in the sense of yes, yeah, because I know. No, I mean, from my research, I found out that you obviously grew up in a family of filmmakers, with your dad, and then also with your grand uncle Dolphy. Ah, so cool. Um, yeah, so if you can talk about your experiences growing up, like what was that like? Please take us through that journey.
Honestly, it's quite the opposite of what people might expect. I mean, if I say my dad's side of the family was in the film industry, you might imagine my whole house was, filled with film stuff all the time. But honestly, I grew up in the States here, so I actually didn't know that side of the family. So to me, all I heard were stories from my dad. I would see him on the television, see my family members on the television, and just think like, oh, that's just like my family, but I don't know them and I don't know anything about that life. I actually wanted to play music and I um, was in a band. So doing film stuff was not even on my radar growing up. And it took me a long time until I finally caught the bug. And it wasn't until I saw my dad on set in the Philippines. He was directing a TV show where
Oh, what's it called? Do you remember?
yeah, it was for so they had this show called Pidol's Wonderland, and
Mm.
I guess like he at the time he was kind of already sick in bed and he wasn't filming stuff, but they put his name and face on this show as like Pidol's Wonderland, and that was like his nickname, Dolphy, for people who don't
Yeah,
know.
yes. What year was this? I'm curious.
I want to say it was like 2012, 13. I could be getting that wrong, but around that time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Because yeah,
it was
okay.
around the time that it was maybe like a year before he had really passed because we were actually in the
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah,
we
that
were
sounds about right, like 2010-ish.
okay,
Yeah,
you might be
yeah.
right there. So yeah, this was right before like maybe the year before he passed. We went to the Philippines to go see him because we were told he's on his deathbed. Everyone go see
Mhm.
him who's in the family. So we took a trip out there. I ended up staying longer than everyone else in my family. So I was there just with my dad. And I saw him on set. And this is really where my whole trajectory changed, my whole path. Because at this point, I was just in a band. I didn't know what I was
Mhm.
really doing with myself. I was working.
I'm okay. I'm curious. How old were you at that time? At that point of your
Oh,
time
man.
in life?
I'm pretty old now, and I really jumped
I'm
onto.
old too. Oh, we're all old.
I was in my 30s, so
Wow.
really late to the game of
I'm
filming.
28 actually, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
yeah.
So I caught the bug late with all this stuff, and
Oh, me too. Trust me. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I've learned that there's nothing
There
wrong.
isn't. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I did that, and I saw him on set, and I just saw him really happy. I saw people calling him Derek, and he just had this thing about him that was like I've never seen this side of my dad before, and it was just inspiring. And I kind of just in my head was like, this is like the family business. This is like the legacy. I maybe I should follow this, you know. So I was just really inspired. I went back home and was like, I saw a commercial for the Art Institute and was like, there's my sign. So
From the Philippines? Sorry, from the
yeah,
Philippines?
after I came back from the Philippines, I was back
Oh,
in LA.
after I was like, they have a commercial in
That'd be awesome.
that would be funny though. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just gonna try this. You know, maybe this is my thing. And I just never looked back after that. I just went straight. I went to that school. It's not the greatest film school. Like
Mm.
it doesn't even get regarded as like anything good. But I milked it. I totally just I was in class, you know, every day, and I did every assignment that we had. I tried to make like a short film or a music video. Like I was like, I'm gonna do this and like really do it because there were like students there who were like just out of high school
Oh
and
yeah.
they'd skip class, they would just be whatever's, they would just cast their friends. Nothing wrong with that, but like I was like, if I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna try to see what it's really like to make films. So I casted actors from LA, and you know I tried to just do the most. I tried to take the most out of it. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I have okay. You're like my brain is like kind of okay. Okay, I have follow-up questions. Were you? I mean, of course, I think it's a given question, but were you there in his in Dolphy's funeral at Dolphy's funeral?
So we were told that he was gonna pass. So we all knew in the family. So that month that I was there, it was like that's the last time you're gonna see him.
Mhm.
Uh, Everyone was just kind of waiting at that point because he really was not gonna make it, and but he was hanging on. So I wasn't there for the actual funeral, but
Oh,
we
okay.
did a lot of like little memorials while he was still in the bed. So I was there for a lot of that stuff. There was a lot of media by the hospitals, and
Yeah,
there's
I bet. Yeah, coverage. Whew.
and that also was part of the inspiration. Was like, man, I'm here seeing this stuff, seeing like I was in a cab and there was news about him, and then I remember asking the cab driver, like, "What's your favorite Dolphy movie?" Because I hadn't seen that many growing up, and you
Mhm.
know, and he started talking about his favorite film and his like his I could feel him like his eyes lighting up, like that feeling of like talking about something, you know, and I just was like kind of it hit me like, wow, this is you know, I don't growing up in LA and stuff, I didn't really know the impact he had on everyone.
Wow.
So and I grew up kind of in the Americanized way. So, you know, I grew up on movies from here, or you know, Back to the Future, Toy
Yeah,
Story, all that stuff. So like,
I almost want to say the typical, almost like the typical stuff that
yeah.
yeah. No, I can resonate with
So,
that.
yeah, so I've never even really seen much of his stuff. I've seen just bits and pieces, and you know, I don't even really. I mean, I'm trying to. I understand Tagalog, but like, I don't sometimes get the jokes. I don't get all
Oh
the
yeah,
like. So yeah,
that's me.
yeah,
It's okay. I'll help you.
yeah. So that, but so being there in the midst of all that was really the big inspiration for me to come back to LA and like maybe this is what I gotta do. So
Wow. Okay. Follow-up question. Actually, this is a random question, but what's your ethnicity?
I'm pretty much Filipino. My dad though is half Italian or Maltese, so which makes me a quarter.
Mm.
Malta is this little island off the boot of Italy, so I am a quarter Maltese, 75% Filipino.
Wow. Okay. No, yeah, because yeah, your last name. It's. I mean, not to say that it can't be a Filipino name, but you can tell that it's you're not just like my last name is Pangilinan. Clearly, that's you know.
Yeah.
Um. So then, okay. So then, I actually kind of want to. Okay, so you did mention that your journey is very recent. It's very recent then. Super
It,
recent.
it kind of is, yeah.
This last decade,
Your last name,
right?
yeah.
Wow. Okay, then I actually didn't then just want to jump back a little bit more back in time to be okay. So before you discovered that part about yourself, what was your life like? Like, or did you feel like anything that you were doing in between? Like, do you feel like anything that was happening in your life and the trajectory that you were doing? Do you feel like that helped you kind of lead to where you are at now, or was it like a complete like turn pivot?
I mean, I was playing music. I was in a band. We were doing rock music, and
What's your band called, or what was the band called?
it was called. Well, we're not officially broken up because we never.
Oh, okay, okay.
But
Oh,
but we don't play music anymore. So we were called Far Out.
far out,
Far Out, yeah.
far out.
I
Okay.
actually came up with the name. It was like we were all in high school, and I grew up with friends who were all into music. We were into British bands, and the whole thing was like,
Wow.
let's join a band. So that was my life in my 20s. Was like being in this band. We played shows in LA. We practiced all the time. We wrote songs. Was living that band musician rock star, trying to live that life, or in my head I was like, that was me. So I was late nights and
Oh
drinking
yeah.
clubs and going to shows
Hmm.
and all that. So but it's still in the same, in a way that's still creative. So writing songs, I guess you could maybe say, led to writing scripts. They say that when you play music, you're kind of a better editor if you know like the rhythm of music. So
Yes.
all that
Yeah.
helped lead me to where I am now. It's helped me. Um,
Yeah. What instrument did you play?
I was the bass guitar player in the band.
Bass guitar. Okay. I at some point in my life, past life, I played the violin.
Nice.
Also, I was in orchestra. I spent like a good, actually spent a good 7 years before then I pivoted to dance, and then now I'm pivoting from dance to film. Just
Nice.
think that correlation is so like it can. Okay, I mean, I'm sure you'd probably agree with me on this, but sometimes it can feel like it just has to. It can feel like it's black and white. Like if it didn't work out, then it wasn't worth it. But if you think about it, it's almost like we went through what we had to go through, then to kind of like see this nugget, this
Yeah.
little Pokemon egg, Pokemon egg, Pokemon egg that only like was only gonna be there if you like accumulated the life experiences, the wisdom. There's no shortcutting it basically. You know.
No, and I that thing that I heard, that people who dance or sing or know music are make good editors. I totally believe that. Like
Oh, okay. I
um
agree.
yeah, like to know that kind of rhythm or cutting, or just like it's totally it's totally apparent when even making films. It's all very musical, like score and
Hmm.
the rhythm of
The rhythm, the beats,
the beat.
movement, just kind of like,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, silent film, silent films,
silent film. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm with you. I totally agree.
yeah, yeah, cool. It's okay. So okay, I'm gonna be transparent. Okay, so you're like the second person that I'm recording, and like what I'm like as I'm doing this, I'm like getting so hooked into the conversation. I'm like, oh shoot, don't fully get lost into the
Oh
conversation that like you kind of lose track of the questions.
yeah, no worries.
Oh wait, so that's Noreen's question. Okay. Okay. So you did talk about your experiences in school. I think it's safe to kind of fast forward just a little bit. Um, so you went to the institute. What was your school called again?
It
Sorry.
was the Art Institute of
Oh,
North.
Art Institute. Okay, okay. I was gonna say it backwards. That's why I was like, I'm not gonna say it. The Art Institute. Okay. How was your experience then? I guess transitioning from collegiate to the real world, because as we all know, going to going to college for the arts and then kind of then going out into the real world, like what was that process like for you? What were your feelings? Were you scared? Were you excited? Like what were your feelings like at the time?
It's funny because you say that because my first semester of film school, I took this class about media business something, and it teaches you about the business side of being in this industry.
Wow.
Like literally the first day of that class, the teacher was like, only less than 10% of people who go to film school make it in the industry. Like, so I was like, wow, these like, why are you telling us this? Like, we're in film school. But he wanted to just kind of put that in us now, just so we don't all think like, oh, there's jobs out there for all of us, you know. So
Oof.
I thought I kind of always remember that, and but I always thought like there's got to be room, I guess, if you work hard enough
Yeah,
somewhere.
room for everyone on the table.
Yeah, but and that's kind of how it is with everything. I'm sure you know or you agree is like how much you put into something can uh, predict the outcome of it. So uh,
Yeah.
I luckily through the stroke of just networking and being in the right place at the right time, uh, on my in my last semester, my friend who had graduated a semester before got a job at this place where they were doing media for Asians in entertainment, and it's actually where I still work now.
Hmm.
He said, "Hey, they're looking for a writer to help come up with concepts like BuzzFeedy type short little YouTube content." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so down! Please." So I luckily and I I got a job right after school, like immediately after,
Hmm.
and I just stayed there. And
Character media, right? That's what you're referring to?
character media, yes, that is where
Character media, okay.
and that is the job I got straight out of film school.
Wow. So you are one of those top 10%. Jealous. I'm just kidding. No.
Well,
No, no, I'm just kidding. But no, but really, because when I think about it, when you mentioned your work ethics, and not just the work ethics, but how you showed up through those work ethics, is it's like it's magnetic, like even all the way down to like the assignments that were given. You showed up to the fullest that you can, and then as you were building those building blocks, I guess. Wow. Okay. Okay, I have a follow-up question. Then in that case, would you mind sharing some of your thoughts and sentiments on um being able to sustain a career in this? I guess financially is the first thing that comes to mind, but you know.
yeah, you know what? This industry is strange in its own way. But I will say that you can go into a position whether it's a internship or you get hired just to be on this project. You can be really talented at what you do, and that's cool. But that's only part of I think how to sustain it. It also what's important is your attitude and kind of just appreciating the people around you. Like, if you get hired, for example, to be on this, for example, a music video shoot, and they hire you to be a PA, and your job is to get food for everyone or whatever, which
You better be grateful.
yeah, I remember doing that when I was in film school. my cinematography teacher was like, "Hey, if you guys want experience in the field, I know there's this music video that's shooting. They're looking for PAs." It was not paid, but I took the job, and I remember asking people on that set. And I don't, looking back at it now, I didn't think this was how to succeed. I was just doing it because I
Mhm.
was really hungry. I remember asking the production designer, "How did you get in this industry, or how did you make it? How are you in this world?" So like that networking, that like just talking to people, appreciating people for what they do,
Curiosity,
curiosity.
inquisitiveness, if I
Yes,
said that
I
correctly.
think. I mean, as long as you're not super annoying and people are still, and you're doing your job well, I think that
Oh
matters.
yeah, right, yeah.
Because
Yep.
no one wants the person on set who's just talking and networking, because like there's a job
Oh
to do.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and there are those people. But it's like finding that balance, I guess, because I don't think it's
Mhm.
enough to just silently do your work good. I mean, some people like to think that your work speaks for yourself. You can go in with that attitude, but I think it's finding that balance of like showing people who you are, like saying, introducing yourself, and following up with people, just remembering people's names, which is still really hard to do on sets. But I think that matters to people. People remember that stuff, um, and I think I mean, I'm not the most social guy. In fact, I can be really quiet at times, and people know me as really quiet. But I think there's a time and place where you could kind of, when you have to, be present or aware, and uh, that it can really work for you. And I guess I'd like to think that that's maybe how I've sustained myself throughout this uh, industry. Is been I guess I've been in this industry for like 5 years now, and I think those relationships that you build with people are really important because, and another thing, to build a relationship, you can meet someone on set, say you follow them, and like, "Hey, let me get your Instagram," and then
Oh
like you just
yeah.
never talk to them ever again, or you never. That's not exactly what it is. I think what it is too is like when you go to a film festival and you
Hmm.
see other people's work. I think it's important to like, if there's something that resonated with you, like you saw someone's film and it hit you in some way. I think it's so important to like go up to them or even follow up with them later, like, "Hey, your film really touched me. I loved your work. You know, um, I think showing people that appreciation, that what they're doing is
It's
impacted you.
important.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you agree? Like, do you feel that same way too? Like,
Yes. What was that film that is it following?
following.
If I butcher up your title, I will apologize in advance. Okay. Following Jamie, is that what it's called? Jamie. Okay, so I. Oh gosh. Okay. The irony of things. So what you were just saying. So I was there. Like I mentioned earlier, I was at the San Diego Filipino Cinemas Magic Hour event, and I saw your film, and I was like, "This is beautiful." Not only beautiful, but actually, as I was prepping for this too, I remembered what I appreciated about your work. I super appreciated the quirkiness. You're very, very super, super specific perspective on that kind of story. And then also the production value. The colors. I was like, this is so beautiful, and and it's funny because to think that you were there, and then for me, I'm like, and what you just mentioned too, being someone that's like, if you get the chance, not even if, when you get the chance, it does all go back to like, I feel like human fundamentals of like expressing gratitude, letting that person know, because I feel like that all I feel like that all just goes back to gratitude. Gratitude does heal. It really heals, and yeah. So I wanted to say that live. So
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I was always wondering about that because that event was like, there was like music and food booths and short films.
oh yeah, remember the
Like,
sound?
I was just
The
curious,
sound you
or even like,
couldn't really hear the sound,
yeah, but
which is what. Mhm.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
thank
go
you.
ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, real quick, I just want to mention that I'm actually releasing that film in early January, so maybe by the time this comes out. So,
Yay! Are you allowed to discuss details yet? Where or not yet?
um, no, nothing yet specifically, but just know it'll be on.
Showbiz talks. This is so fun. I'm like, are you
Not
allowed
a
to say details yet?
uh, yeah.
Not but January next month.
Yes, yes. I believe, yeah. And even then, either way, it'll be on YouTube just because I want it out there finally.
Wow! Congratulations!
Oh, thank you.
Thank- You know what? I need to. I just need to get my grip together because I'm really getting hooked into these conversations that I'm like, oh yeah, I had questions that I wrote down. But it's good too because then I knew personally for me, I wrote these questions not because it's the only thing I'm gonna ask. It's almost just like a structure of like, okay, well, I gotta make room for the meat or the meat in between the bones.
Yeah.
These were the bones. So, hmm. Okay. So, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Um, I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Weird creatures. How did that happen?
I it was just funny in film school. Everyone had their own like production company name before their films. That thing of like everyone wants to kind of talk themselves up, but I think that's so cool. I think it was important to do because it's like that thing that Kanye West says like if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? So I think seeing other students like have like their film production name before their films, I was like, I want my own film production name, like make it sound like you're bigger than you are. um, so that was it. It was always just like coming up with a name for myself, and that was it. I was just Weird Creatures is just basically the WC is West Covina where I grew up in high school. So that was like the only connection. And
Wow.
I like to think that in my work, I don't always try to just cast the good looking person. I like to cast people who have like a unique quality or someone you just can't take your eyes off from screen. And that doesn't always necessarily mean the most beautiful person. It's like someone who has like that something that you're just like, what is it about this person that I just
The je ne sais quoi. There you go.
and I
Yeah.
like movies that have like strange character personalities or looks. Um, and so that's kind of why Weird Creatures is my thing.
Wow. 2015. What year was this?
What for?
Weird Creatures.
I guess in the beginning of film school, when everyone was like, "Oh, this is my production company name," so I think
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
somewhere in that first semester, I was like, "All right, what's mine?" And Weird Creatures it became.
What are some of your favorite works that you've done so far?
I mean, following Jamie, I think does mean a lot to me. In a way, it kind of a lot of people got to know who I was from that film. I got to meet a lot of people because of that film. I wrote it with my friend Caitlin Faye, who stars in it as well, and that was like
Yes.
a new experience for me to write with someone, and that was, it just I grew a lot as a filmmaker after that experience. So I personally, that's a very personal film that means a lot to me in that sense. Um, before that, I there's this film that I have in my YouTube. I have a. Can I tell one funny story or one interesting story?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, really quick. I have this short film in my YouTube called "What's Your Number." It was my junior thesis project.
Oh,
And
I saw that on your Instagram. I was like trying to get a when I was doing my research. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I saw the poster. Yeah.
oh, cool. Yeah. So, "What's Your Number?" It's on my YouTube. If you've never seen it, it's kind of old, so I apologize. It's not as woke as we are now in. So there are some dated elements in that film,
Uh,
but
it's okay. It's okay. Actually, I just wanted to point out too that I think what's actually super interesting about filmmaking is that I mean, if you are filming during present times, it's almost it's literally
Yes.
a time capsule of like how life back is then, and which also reminds me too. I'm not sure if you've really have been following into America's Next Top Model and how that show was like 2003. Okay, the first fashion reality show, and now in 2020, being someone that is a fan of that show, like watching it maybe like in the late 2000s, you know um it's super interesting watching it then and being like, wow, yeah, yes, fairs, and then like being like in my late 20s and also like a lot of people catching on to the problematic you know problematic concepts,
Right.
thinking, sayings, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
super interesting.
that
Yes,
that is the interesting thing about making art. It's like it does reflect the times, and things can date or things can get expired, I guess you could say.
it does, yeah. But go ahead, us. Sorry,
Oh,
didn't mean to.
no
Yeah.
worries. But real quick, so I'm proud of that film because this was some years ago, I guess 7 years ago now. I
Wow.
made this short film in this like school festival where I was getting graded by like three teachers because it was my junior thesis project. So you watch it with an audience of your peers, and then you have like three teachers who judge and critique it. I remember the film is like this romantic comedy, and it has a Filipino lead male and this American with that girl as the love interest. At that time,
Mhm. Oh yes, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
yeah, so, at that time, that's kind of a new concept of like an Asian guy and a white girl. So one of the teacher's comments to me was, "I liked your film, but I feel like you should have casted another lead." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" I had a
Who?
feeling he
Which
meant
one? Guy or girl?
like the guy. He should have been casted, not an Asian guy. Is what I thought he was saying, and he confirmed that
Oh,
that's
okay.
what he meant. He didn't he didn't say it exactly. He goes, someone like, and he pointed to someone who was white, and in my head I was like, oh, that's what he means. Like he didn't feel like the casting was a good casting. So I was like, wow,
Oh.
that sucks. That's the feedback you're gonna give me. But so I'm proud of that film because I don't know.
Trailblazing. You were like trailblazer for what is now to be like woke 2020. Wait, let's wake up everyone and
Yeah, well, yeah, this was like before Crazy Rich Asians, before there was more
oh,
mainstream,
way, way before 2013, right? You said 7 years ago?
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was
Wow.
proud of it for that. I was like, I stuck to my guns. I didn't cast someone just because I thought this is what it should be, and um, so yeah, I think that I don't remember what the question was, but I am proud of that film.
Oh, uh, no, me too. I forgot. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was asking about your favorite body of work.
Ah, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Say those two. My most
yeah.
work in that one.
That actually reminded me of my own. Actually, this was my senior. If you like, it's this way. Do you see that poster up there?
The Digimon one.
Oh no, the one above. Sorry,
Oh, I see
the
it.
one.
I can't make it out.
Oh, okay, I'll send you a picture after. But that was actually my senior capstone.
Oh no.
I designed a poster, so I was proud of that too because I'm not like super professional graphic designer, but I was like, I want to do this. I was so happy to finally be graduating, and super long story short, I got very very similar feedback about my own work. Um, and ironically, the name of that piece that I did is called Soul Supremacy. So this is actually an extension of my senior dance capstone, which is really about being in a place where you just get to really really explore what it feels like to be yourself in a place that says otherwise. So I guess in this format, and of course I feel like I just want to give not just for myself, but I really want to use this platform as a way for people just to be seen and to be heard. And I didn't realize how kind of, that doing that senior capstone back then was going to lead to this. But also my teachers hated it. Like and me being an empath, it's like that was hard for me. That was so hard. And being a recovering people pleaser, that was so hard for me to literally have to like stand up for to literally live up to what my piece is about. Like, hey, this is me, and if you don't like it, then what can I do? Yeah.
I am also an empath, so shout out.
I knew it. I know. I was gonna ask that question with the answer that in mind. Okay, so do you feel like I'm just curious in terms of being an empath. What has some of your experiences been with that? Like, do you feel like that's helped you, or do you feel like that's kind of made things a little bit like kind of, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I have to see it as as like I always take it back to the X-Men. I use that reference a lot. I think I remember it in our mixer. I was saying that Benito's like Professor X, and we're like the X-Men.
Oh,
But I always consider like everything that is the things that make me who I am, like being an empath, like you, is just like my superpower, and I have to find a way to use it for good. So
mm,
it's like recognizing what it is about you that makes you tick, and using it to help you. So if for me, being an empath, if I'm taking in people's feelings and the auras, and it's affecting me, and I have to use that for my art. So I have to transform it. So if I'm like I observe a lot. So if I'm listening to people's conversations and I'm taking it in like a sponge, for me that's just like now I can use this as like something I can write for something in the future. So
mm. What about like working, like your work experiences? I'm just curious. Has that affected you in a way where has that affected you in any shape or way? Maybe like showing up in a set and being like, oh shoot, this set can feel a little woo woo. Yeah, I don't know.
no, you're that's I'm glad you're digging into this stuff. This is great. I love this.
Thank you.
I I'm not going to say it's been a perfect ride throughout my career. I've had moments where sometimes being an empath sucks because you're taking in people's bad attitudes and it's affecting you, and then you can't do your work as great as you wish. And so I've had a lot of learning experiences on set, but I think the great thing about doing that work, being on sets, you learn about yourself sometimes. Like sometimes I'll come off a project and like I learned something about myself, how I dealt with actors, how I dealt with the crew, or how other people's attitudes have affected me and how I reacted to that. And so yeah, being an empath, it's not all great. It's hard because and I think kind of like you, and I maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. Do you kind of wear your feelings out, like people know if
Oh
you're like
yeah, yes I do. Yep. I don't know how to lie, so it's like, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I think it's like finding yeah. So that's just happened to me, and sometimes I like you said, it's hard for me to hide my emotions too. So if I'm bothered or if I'm feeling a certain way, it can show, and uh, it's not always the greatest outcome. But I think as long as we're recognizing it and we can learn from it, I think that's the most important part. Right?
Hmm. I'm curious then, just one more. Actually, I do have one final question about that. Then actually, I was looking at my questions and I'm like, oh wow, we've just kind of went through them actually just like that
Oh,
organically. So super cool. What are some of your like coping mechanisms in terms of that? The And also feel free to correct me if I'm wrong because I think I'm just describing it from my own personal like physical experiences
yeah.
of like overwhelmingness, just like what you said, the heaviness of things of like it's something that we can't turn off. It's like instantly, like, like what are some of the things that you've done that has worked for you to be able to just kind of navigate through it and be like, you know what, that is there, and I'm willing, and I'll be able to coexist with this.
Honestly, thank you for bringing this up. I This is not easy to admit, but I think the only way to really get over something like that, if like something is bothering you, and this is sometimes a hard conversation to have with people, and it's also timing a timing thing. You have to find the right time to do it. But I think the only way to really get through it is to have that talk with that person or the thing that's bothering you.
Oh, yes.
Because even though it's a hard conversation to have, I think that the only way to really let it out is to open up about it. I mean, you can, and with that person, because if they don't hear it from you, you don't want it to get bottled up and come out somewhere
it
else.
it eats you up inside, then you're the only one that's, I
Yeah.
guess, going through it, and that's not fair.
So, like, the hardest way through it is through the front door, which is you have to just tackle it head on. But you have to find the right timing for it too. You can't do it obviously in the middle of a situation. Sometimes that can not be the best timing. So
Mhm.
it's finding the right time to do it that can work for both yourself, the person, and the project. Because sometimes at the end of the day, the project matters the most. Like, this project has to get done, so we have to find a way to deal with each other, right?
Yeah, I think that's super interesting, because then on the other side of that, of this, is like we are able to read the room. We are like super good at being able to read the room,
Oh yeah,
and at least almost have that, like, not but almost like, okay,
yeah,
this is the temperature of the room.
yeah.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be a little bit above. I'm gonna be below, but not the same energy. So
Oh,
I do feel like that is the thing that's like definitely an advantage. And this is not by any means for anyone that's tuning in, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, wherever this will live eventually. But this is not a bad. It's not a bad thing. Being an empath is, I mean, or it. I don't think it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So
no, and like you said, what you just described, like you being able to read the room, that's like your superpower in a way. Because then, like, you can read things, and then you can like navigate yourself to as your reaction. In a way, you're just surviving through it, and the being the
yes.
empath is just your like that's the superpower that you have, right? So
Wow. I've never heard of that, or being an empath being used in that term as a superpower. I Thank you. I super appreciate that. Super appreciate that. Wow. Okay. I feel like I feel like as of now I don't have any. Before we wrap it up, I don't have any more questions because you've kind of like just answered it. And also, thank you for your willingness to open up, because that last part that you mentioned, it's the whole self work thing. It sucks. It sucks because you have no one. There is no one else you can look at but yourself.
right,
There's no one, you can't blame anyone. You can't be like, this person did this to me. While that is valid, I will say, while that is super valid, it's also like at the end of the day, it's really, I feel like one of the things really is like at the end of the day, it's the way we decide to respond to it, and allow power, allow that certain thing to give us power, so
yeah, no.
yeah.
Lastly, I just want to say the idea of a superpower, you would think it's this thing that you have that you're just gonna like that is this now you have the skill that you can just use. But the thing about it is, and like they like in a lot of superhero movies, someone who has a certain skill or a power, it takes you a while to realize how to use it for good because you could use it
Oh
for evil
yeah.
or you don't know what to do with it, so you're just sitting there. And I
It's
think
it's it's almost like a kryptonite in the beginning. It like eats you up. It's like,
yeah,
ugh, you
it
know.
can be. And you can turn it. It can turn around and get you in the end. But it's
Mhm.
how you take what you was given to you and use it for ways that will help you. I think is the point. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thank
Wow.
Empath.
Thank you
Right.
again. Yes, empath for the win. Yes. Ha for my haters out there. I just kidding. No, they're my friends. They just like to poke at me being an empath. But so as we wrap this up, wow, as we wrap this up. Really. As we wrap this up, I'm curious to see um how has the how has this year been like for you, 2020? What are some of your lessons learned, takeaways, experiences as
As
we
far
wrap
as like,
up?
I honestly, and this is kind of starting to be like a running theme, but I feel like I got to sit with myself and do a lot of self work and
Mhm.
learned a lot about myself this year. So I am grateful for this experience. And there's a funny meme that I wish I could share with you. Maybe I could send it to you after. Where it's,
Yes. Sorry, I'm really, literally realizing how washed out I am, but oh well, it's okay. We build this. I'm gonna build this as I go. So
it's all good. It's all good. You look good. I love the jacket kind of.
thank you. See, I get to put my mic over here. So
I see. No, I just want to say there's this meme of like editors in quarantine, and then they're sitting there, and then editors not in quarantine, and it's the same photo.
oh, you sent that to me. I remember earlier this year. I was cracking up. That is so true. It's like our world didn't really change because
Right,
we're literally in our own world inside somewhere,
right.
and then quarantine. We're like still here. So the same
Yeah.
thing.
So in that regard, I don't. I feel like I haven't wasn't really like shocked uh, by the chaos of being on lockdown as much as some other people,
Y-
but
Yeah.
I think I've been okay with it all. So
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. Um, okay, so on that note, do you have any uh, final things that you want to say? Anything else you want to say as you also share some of your projects that you projects or things. Here, let me say that one more time. Hold on, I'm like eating up my own words. Sorry. Um, Okay, so as we wrap this up, again, I said that twice. Is there any last? Do you have any last words? And please feel free to share some of your projects that you're currently working on, things that you're looking forward in the near future that you want to share, and where can people find you?
yeah, I honestly just want to take this time to say thank you for allowing this space for me to talk and have this conversation with you. I think it's really important. And I appreciate you as a creative, and I love everything that you're doing. And I just want to say I hope you keep going. And I'm rooting for you. I'm looking
Thank
at your stuff.
you.
I'm a fan.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and I think what you're doing is really great. And I'm in awe of all the stuff you do, and with the rest of, is it Philam Collective, right?
Philam Film Collective.
Philam Film Collective. You guys are
Yeah.
amazing. I feel
Thank
like
you.
you like kind of have your own like skill sets and like things, and but you guys as a whole, like it's cool. It's so cool. It's like you guys are like a film band, like a
Thank you. Or and also the Destiny's Child. We're the Destiny's Child because together we come together and then we also have our own individual solo careers that we're
yeah.
doing.
I am not gonna
Yeah.
ask who Beyonce is. I'll
Oh, oops. I
no.
mean, clearly you're talking to Beyonce. Just kidding.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. No. Actually, okay, okay. Real talk. I use that meme, that reference all the time, but I've actually never really taken the time to look at who's which. We were just like, you know.
no, it's all good. No, but I love it. That's great. So yeah, um, that's it. And I'm on Instagram at Charles J Gray, and that's
Mm.
yeah.
You know, too. I also just want to take the time too because you've opened it up. So thank you, thank you. Like really, thank you. Y'all don't know. Well, I don't think he knows either, but him. I don't think he knows. Also knows either at how much. Can you hear the? Is the plane loud,
No,
or is it? No, not at all. Okay, good. Um, I'm super grateful. Actually, more than grateful. I'm very honored to have to be able to have this opportunity. You know, because like I was telling my I was I actually like to share what I do with my youngest sister because she's about to graduate high school, and I also just want to be like, because being someone that's the only person really that's doing something else opposite of what everyone else. Oh my Lord, have mercy! Oh my Lord, hey, look good.
All right, cool.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna look at this after and laugh at myself.
All right.
That is so funny. Okay, so super. Okay, I'm just gonna make this short because my internet is being attacked. But yeah, I mean, I forgot what I was talking about, but I just really wanted to say super super thankful for this opportunity. Really, really opportunity to be able to talk to you, like someone that I equally respect, if not more, because you have done it, you're doing it, and just to be able to have this, just this thing, So I'm super grateful for that, and thank you for just willing to
Oh,
open up. So.
thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Yes. And that leads me to the very last question. And that last question is, oh goodness, that whole thing, that was funny. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
My answer to the legacy I want to leave is that I just want, at the end of the day, when I'm not here anymore, to people, when they think back at me, it's like he made good work, or working with him was a pleasure. I would love for people to kind of remember me in that way, that I was someone who spoke for other people, and like, fought for other people, and like really
Mm,
championed, um, you know, uh, the truth and good work. So that, I think that's really the legacy I'd love to truly leave behind.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, so on that note, we're really gonna end it here just because before my
Yeah.
internet decides to chop off again. Thank you so much for watching the second episode of Soul Supremacy. And without further ado, you know, thank you so much again, and thank you again, Charles, for thank you. Thank
You.
you. Thank you. Thank you all. See you next Friday at 7 p.m. This podcast show is a product of Studio Penguino. For more information about advertising, please visit www.adrianpenguino.com.